Welcome to Mick and the Psychic, where we leave no stone unturned as we explore all things outside the apparent physical realm.
There is no intent to teach or make you believe or disbelieve anything. It is just a safe space to listen and explore with us.
So for this next episode, you have permission to open your heart and mind as you join myself and Xavier on this deep dive into the unknown.
I don't do any of that.
Exactly.
What happened there?
We teach people, yeah.
I don't need to.
We're on the
Too many
same.
lifetimes. Mick, it's too many lifetimes in Atlantis where I've played with crystals thousands of years ago and I've done my head in and now I'm back to them. I think I'm paying back karma working in a crystal store.
It's hilarious.
We always have special guests on the show, and this guest is absolutely no exception. Charles Lowrey is an energy healer, tarot reader, Reiki practitioner, Palawa, is that how you say it?
Palawa, yeah.
Yep. Seachem practitioner, is it Seachem? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Yep, okay. No, we're still going. Arbor, is it Arbor? Healing and past life assimilation practitioner, spiritual tour guide, a spiritual circle facilitator, a tarot teacher, and still has time to work in a crystal wholesale business. And that's pretty much the end of the show. Thank you so much for coming on. Oh gosh. Welcome, Charles. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. Thank you.
It's pretty exciting, and I have no idea where to start, but you sent us some information at the start. I think I want to start at the start, which isn't the start, it's the middle. You said your spiritual journey started at 2013. Now, people have all sorts of different, some people say their spiritual journey just started from whenever. Some people are born having, speaking light language and stuff at the age of 2. And other people have like something that's happened. Like, what happened for you to start your spiritual journey at 2013? Was there like a big bang?
It's a really good question because my father passed away in 2006, and it always pondered in my head, what happens when you pass away? Where do you go? You can't just be lying in a box, and there has to be more to this existence we call life. And at that point in time, I started to think, we must have had some past lifetimes. He must do other things. He must be on a journey somewhere else. And that started my mind going. So, okay, I need to start looking into this and start exploring this more. And there used to be a man on TV called John Edward crossing over. And he's a medium that used to speak to people that have crossed over and all that sort of stuff. And it piqued my interest. It's like, oh, okay, I need to start learning about this sort of stuff. And to cut a long story short, I found a class that was being run in the next suburb to me on Facebook that a friend had shared. It's like, and there was an element, 2 words, past life. It's like, oh, I'm in, sign me up. And it's funny because I called the lady straight away. I said, I'm in. I don't care what it costs. I don't care how often I have to do it. I'm doing it. I don't care. And that's the start. That's how easy it was. It doesn't have to be hard. And it was just me thinking and then following what I was being guided. Not that I knew I was being guided at the time, but following that process and trusting that this is going to be good, but I don't know why. And I took the leap of faith, and I've never looked back. So
having that curious, know nothing mindset, and then just following from there.
Yeah.
How good is that trust already so early on before you even knew what it was?
Exactly. And I was so nervous. The first night of going to this 2-hour class for 7 months, I was so nervous because I was like, I know nothing. And it was funny. After the 2-hour class, the lady said, I think you're going to be the first person to fail the class. I said, that's okay. That's okay. At least I can learn and I'll pick it up next. But next week I came back and I kicked them all to the next, cosmos because I tried and I practiced and it's like, yes, I can do this. And that was all I needed confidence-wise to get going.
That's amazing. So it's funny because spiritual journeys and people that are on these lifelong spiritual journeys, the end of the journey is to come to the point of, some of the time is to come to the point where you don't actually know, and having that not knowing mindset. You started with that, so no wonder you're kicking goals. So you're already there. You started and ended your spiritual journey with the same process.
Correct.
You just play.
That's exactly what I do. I play, but I think the biggest thing for me now is trust. So I go and do these classes and I learn the processes. I learn what they want to teach me. I take their attunements. I do all of that sort of stuff. And then what happens to me is I let it evolve naturally. So it's different for every practitioner. So what I get is very different, but I allow it to come through and I allow it to trust because I'm not I'm not the healer. I'm just the facilitator of energy transference.
Exactly.
My customers are the healers. They're healing themselves by taking that step to come and see me.
Yeah.
So that's their first step. And all I do is hold space and facilitate the flow of energy. And sometimes I might poke to make them cry and release some of these built up emotions, but it's in their highest good that I do that. So yeah, I've learned so many techniques, and as it's taught to what it is today, it's just like, oh, it's not the same because it's evolved over time, and I just allow it to evolve.
I do exactly the same, Charles. I love that.
You have
We
to
learn
because
some, we'll do a course, and then I find all the time when I'm healing somebody, assisting in their healing, it's not me, like you said. I'll be channeling something, and then something else will come through, and then now I don't do that technique anywhere near how I learned it the first place, because I've been shown other things you can do that aren't taught.
Correct.
Because we can, if we're open to it and ready and receiving, then we just get all these extra little tidbits.
And it's different for every customer, because what we're actually doing is the energy is coming in, and it's like I'm tailoring it for that client on that day. And because everybody's on a different spiritual level, you get different levels for each customer. So that's why I might say on my on the website, yes, I do clairvoyant healing. Yes, I do Reiki. Yes, I do Palo Alto. Yes, I do Seikem. But how it was taught to how it is today, it's very different.
Well, everyone's, I guess, with techniques as well, they just show you how the technique works. How it's going to work through you is going to be different, because you are completely different to the next person. I mean, we're all very individual, I guess, as beings, but we're even more so individual as humans, because we've got completely different conditioning and makeup, which leads me, I want to go deep into this, because you've pulled out trust, and there's a whole, like, I had 2 major questions and you've already hit it. This podcast will be over in 2 minutes. But going back to like who you are and how you work with these different modalities, what is your upbringing? Like, what was your upbringing leading up to that? So before your father passed, like did you have any kind of spiritual upbringing? Did you go to church? Did you what?
Really good question. Really good question. So I'm one of 11. I'm number 11 of 11. So I have half brothers and sisters, but in our family, we're just brothers and sisters because we all grew up together. So there's none of that half. But I'm 11 of 11. So I grew up in a family of love, and we're all very tight. We're still very tight to this day. But when my mother, I'm a twin as well. So when my mother was pregnant with us, and she only found out like a month before we were being born that, oh my God, there's 2. My grandparents decided we're going to build an extension onto the family home and live with you. So I had this amazing extended family experience that it was never just 3 of us in a house. There was always 8 or 9 people until I grew up. Not the most religious of families. My grandmother would go to church. My mother would watch it on TV if she needed to or wanted to, and I would just I didn't really participate in religion at all. I would go with my grandmother because I had this really strong bond with my grandmother over time. I would go with her, and I think that was just to be with her. What I do realize now, looking back, as a youngster, I used to always have these thoughts about, what if I'm having a life in 1865 at the same time I'm having this lifetime? And as a 6 or 7-year-old, it's really complex. You think, okay, where's this coming from? And then you park that idea, and then later on in life, later on in life, you think, what if I'm having a life from 2027 and that's running concurrently with now? And I used to think that was a normal way of thinking. And
wasn't it hard enough just having a twin? Like, isn't that bit hard enough going, this kid is exactly looks like me and come out at the same time?
No, we're not identical. We're fraternal twins. So my twin brother is like 6'2". He got the olive skin, the brown European eyes.
Right.
I'm like 5'4", blue eyes, burning in the sun.
You're the attractive
opposite.
one.
Correct. So that's how it lived. So I went to high school, did all of that sort of stuff. It was really interesting because at the end of high school, I had choice. Do I become an applied chemist, because science is very much in my head, and astronomy particularly, or do I go into travel? And I used the same method that my grandfather had used, and whichever comes to you first is what we're going to do. So I got into travel. So I did an applied travel class, a diploma for 12 months. And before I'd finished the class, I applied to go and work at the airlines because my sister used to work for an airline. I was traveling the world all the time. I was like, that's what I want. I want to travel for nothing. And then I spent a 26-year career at Qantas, looking after, in the last 7 years, 8 years, I was looking after the high value VIP first class passengers, chairman's lounge, heads of state, prime ministers, all of that sort of stuff.
Fancy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of that sort of stuff. But the interesting thing was, with that 26-year career, I was always yearning for something more. And I didn't actually understand what it was. And I didn't grasp that I needed more. And I was really impatient, because it's like, I need to know what that is, and I need to know it now. So what happened was, I went and applied to do a Bachelor of Business degree. It's like, yeah, that's what I want to do, because then I can start my own business. Oh my God, what a mistake that was.
Yeah.
Because it was so heavy and it was so dense.
Your brain.
And, and then the good thing with that was, I realized finance was not in my sphere. Money was not what I needed to know. Economics, all of that stuff, it's like, I don't really care. Let somebody else do it. So I walked away from that very quickly. I learned very quickly that this is not where my heart needs to go. So I needed to trust this. And then that class came up in 2013, and I was still in Qantas, and I started it. And the funniest, if you can't tell, I like to talk. And the funniest thing was, I'd go to work the next day in the first class lounge, and I'd say, oh my God, you won't believe what I learned last night. And we'd all run into the cloakroom, and I'd practice throwing energy at them and doing a chakra balance. And then I'd take some cards in and I'd read tarot cards. And I was like, oh my God, this is good. I love this. And the funniest thing was, the people that I worked with are so accepting that it allowed me to be me. I didn't have to sort of shut that part off of me and go into the corporate world and just do the corporate 9 to 5 and just shut up about it. It's like, no. This is me, and I'm gonna do the real me. And the funniest thing was, the day I resigned from Qantas, one of my favorite customers was in the first class lounge, and he deals with energy. He works with the CSIRO, and he's a professor of energy. And I said to him, oh, such and such, it's been great to know you for 7 years. Wish you and your wife all the best, because she was there. Wishing you all the best. He goes, what are you going to do? I believe you've resigned. I said, I'm going to go and play with energy. And he goes, oh my God, I can help you with that, because I know all about electricity and how it's conducted. It's like, no, different types of energy, my friend. And his wife, she knew, she gave me a wink. She goes, you go and do that, and you go and enjoy it. And he walked out of the lounge, what's he going to do? What's he doing?
That seems dangerous, though, for him to say, I'll help you play with energy, if he's talking about like volts,
electricity and
maybe he didn't like you as much as you thought. He's like, I'll help you. Yeah, he's
now,
too
Charles,
nice.
you're a professor of energy too now.
Correct. So it's been interesting. My journey has been interesting, but what the biggest key that I have is, I have to follow this, and I'll take a leap of faith. And the day that I left Qantas, I tell you, it was like somebody had cut a piece of cord in my back, and my angel's wings went whoosh, let's go. Because I didn't realize how much I'd sold myself to that company in giving so much time to them and not giving it to me. So what I've realized is, freedom is very important, and we all need it.
Sounds like your attitude's been very similar, though, which helps. Like when you talk about how you'd learn something in the class and you'd come back the next day to say, I learnt this, can I try that? That's it's not just that, you know, the people around you are like, oh yeah, okay, let's go for it. It's that attitude of, I'm not sure, I just learnt it. Do you want to try? That curiosity and that playfulness. That sounds like that hasn't changed. You've always had that. And I think that's a catalyst for someone being very, very good at something.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. I always like to see the best in life. And I think one of the things that Qantas always showed me was, there's always a solution. There's always something, even though my stress levels would go through to the max. I remember one time I had 800 people looking at me saying, when's that 747 going? And when's that 747 going? Because they're both broken at the same time. And I had to deal with that. So what I then had to look at was, how do I change my mindset so that I'm not sitting in anxiety or depression and being heavy? I always said, okay, what's the positive here? And it's like, I got to know these people. We got to know a lot of time. And it's funny, one of your previous guests, Mr. Modi, the palm reader, that's how I got introduced to him. Was we had a 4-hour delay on his flight to Los Angeles. I got to meet him in the first class lounge, and he kept coming up and annoying me every 5 minutes. And he's like, is this plane going to go? Am I going to make my connection? And then all of a sudden he said to me, give me your palm. And that solidified a friendship for, so far we're 12 years down the road. So there's always a blessing, and you just have to find the positive in every situation that you're in.
And you still can't fix planes.
I still can't explain it.
Yeah, why does everyone think you can?
I know, but they would look at me, because I was the one that was in charge of all the customer service staff at one stage. It's like, Is this one going to go? Is this one going to go? And I must admit, I think the next day I called in sick because it's like, I can't deal with 800 people looking at me all at once thinking, are you going to go? Are you going to put us in a hotel? What's happening here?
This is kind of tripping me out because I'm watching a series at the moment on Netflix called Manifest.
Right, yes.
Anybody who knows that, I'm felt like I'm talking to the energy healer guru and talking about planes, and it kind of all comes together. And one of the sayings in that show is everything comes together for good.
It does. It does. And you don't understand it at the time because you're in it and it's just heavy and dense. But everything happens as it needs to happen.
Exactly. I want to ask, because you made it sound so easy, because it's just your personality of when you were practicing and learning in the classes, and I think I know what classes you're talking about, by the way.
You do.
Might have been there. And then you go to work and you play with all that energy and it's all cool. So you're being authentic all the time. And I know back when I was learning all this, I didn't have, I don't know if maybe it was my own energy, my own reservations would rub off, and I was shot down a lot when I would talk about the stuff I was learning with certain family members that weren't as accepting. And so I didn't get to always be authentic and be myself. So it's making me have a think about, was it because I didn't think about I'm just myself, and if I'm feeling really good about it, then everyone else around me will be cool about it? Or, were you just lucky that you had accepting people around you? Like, which is it? Or do you have any tips for people that might have that kind of issue?
I love what you've just said, because not everybody was accepting. When I said to some of my family members, I'm leaving Qantas, and for them that was like, oh my God, that's lifelong security.
That's your career.
Do that for the rest of
the
your
security
life.
thing, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at one stage I wanted to be the CEO, and I'm glad I got out. But I had people in my own family saying, you're never going to make a living doing that. You're never going to do that. You're wasting your time. And I actually just parked it in a part of my brain that it's like, I think I call that a come back to later box. And I use that as my fuel to, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right.
I'm going to prove you wrong. And you know what? You might not see it in 1 year. You might not see it in 5 years. You might not see it in 10 years. But you know what? There's going to be a time that you're going to come up to me and say, you know what? I was wrong. And I've had that moment. They've come up to me and said, you know what? I was wrong. You're doing it. It's like, you know what? I'm going to give it a really good try. I'm going to give it all I have. And you know what? My motto is, I want to heal one person on the planet at a time. And if I can just heal one person on the planet in this lifetime, I'm good. Even though I'm not the healer, I'm just a facilitator, but I'm good because I'm leaving my mark on this planet. And that one person will change, it'll ripple, and they'll change somebody else, and then they'll change somebody else. And that's how I look at it. So I see what you're saying. It's very hard to be authentic. I think actually I was very conscious of who I would open up to at the start, because you can read their energy. Are they open to this? Are they not open to this? And then I got to the point that, you know what, if you don't like me, that's your problem. See you later. I'm going to be me. You do you, and, have a great life. And that's where I got to.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that authenticity is a big thing, and it's not easy to do. It takes a lot of humility to go, I stuffed this up, or I'm not an expert at this yet, or I've just learned this. Yeah. I think that's held me back so many times in my progress of being better at what I do, is because I've got this expectation of I've got to be good, and having that attitude of just, it's okay, you're learning. That's a very, very powerful mindset. So that I think there's a lot that people can take from that attitude, because it's not easy to be authentic.
It's hard. And people always want to throw things at you all the time. If you're so good, tell me this. If you're so good, tell me that.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you tell me the lotto numbers and all that kind of crap?
And I say to people, you know what, I take it seriously. I suggest you do too, because this is not a game. Because I can tell you things, and that might pull you right down and back into your life, and you might not be appreciative of that. So I don't lower myself to their level. I'll always take the high road, and I say that to my customers all the time. Always take the high road. Never lower yourself to somebody else's level or standards. I said, because then they're taking your energy from you. You don't need to go there. Keep the high road. And I just say, look, that's your opinion. That's it. That's your opinion. See ya. Have a great day.
That's so smart.
I feel like there's something missing in your repertoire at the moment, because your introduction wasn't long enough already. I feel like you could have written a book on your time in Qantas, unless you signed non-disclosure agreements. I just feel like outside of all the energy stuff, just as a funsy on the side, if you wrote a
couple books in him,
and call it, I don't know, Life in First Class or something like, I don't know what you're going to call it.
People wouldn't believe it, Mike. People wouldn't believe it.
Oh, it's great.
People wouldn't believe it. I can tell you some stories, and it's just out of this world. It's like, really? You got away with that? It's like, yeah.
I love that. I love that. You're an energy healer, and you're saying I won't write the book about what actually happened in a plane because no one will believe it. I've heard everything. This is a really nice transition into the word trust. And you talk about trust. And I've got a heavy kind of question for you. And you're so authentic. I was thinking, do I ask this question or is it too much? But you're Mr. Authentic, so I'm sure you'll be fine with it.
Ask away.
Have there been times, maybe you've already answered it, maybe not. Have there been times where, say you've got well, let's go the first time you're really looking at the energy healing stuff or the energy work, where certain things have happened, you've gone through, you've done certain techniques, because energy healing or energy work is on a subtle level, i.e. you can't touch it or like feel it through touch. I'm sure you feel it, and you can't see it. Are there times where you just go, actually, maybe this is just working in my head and I want it to work and it seems real, but it's not? Like, do you have times where that's come up and you've questioned whether or not it's all just sounds nice but it could be coincidence and there's other things happening? Has there ever been doubt in your mind when you've done things because it's on that subtle level that it could be explained away?
I've got one thing I can say to you, and I'm going to give you an example. Yes, okay. I went and did Palawa, okay? Palawa. Yes. Very high energy. Palawa for me is like the Rolls Royce of energy healings besides QHHT. I went and did the class. It was over a weekend. You did level 1 on the Saturday, level 2 on the Sunday. I came home and said to my business partner, I think I've been dwindled out of $400. I said, I think it's not, I don't understand it. I didn't
call him bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said to me, okay, that's fine, try. I said, oh, okay. So come and lie in the bed. And I did the Palawa because Palawa was done in complete silence. There's no smells in the room. There's no noise. That's what I said to the practitioner, Exie. When I started, I said, I can't not talk for an hour in a healing. This is ridiculous.
No way.
Charles, zip it. So I do. And you walk around. Anyway, my business partner after the hour goes, I don't know what you just did to me, but somebody was lifting me under the table. My chest was heavy. Then it's free. And it's like, oh, okay, it does work. So until I got validations, Mike, it was, for me, it's like, I don't even understand if this is working. I don't even understand how this works. And I think what I had to resign myself to the fact was, I don't understand the mechanics behind it. I don't understand how that works, how that looks. And that's exactly right. And it's okay for me not to understand how it works. As long as the customer gets the result or that there's a shift, that's all that's needed. I don't need to understand the mechanics.
That's trust in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So still keeping that curious mind, I suppose. So it could be bullshit, but let's have a go. Yep. And then it goes, okay, wow, all right.
It's exactly right, because it's like I've invested time and energy into that healing technique, and it's just like, okay, I've got to give it a whirl. So I when I learn something new, I'll go and give 20 sessions for free so that I can get the practice. I can nut down
validation and
correct
confidence. Yeah.
Exactly. I'll get feedback, and it's like, oh my goodness gracious me, child. So then what happens in my mind? I start building it up to, okay, this is what happens. This is how it looks. This is when they start to feel the shift in transformation or whatever it might be. So that when I'm doing it for customers, they understand, because I'll preface everything I'm doing. It's like, okay, if it's Palawa, you might not feel the shift for 2 weeks, but trust me, it comes. And that's the feedback that I've got over time. Correct.
Fantastic.
So I have to build from a base of zero, like how it works for my customers, what their experiences are. And then I nut that down and I say to new customers, this is what the feedback's been. This is how it works. This is how it looks. Get ready for that. Are you ready?
Okay. So as a practitioner, you've got a toolbox with a heap of tools in there, right? Yep. You're saying that when people come to you, oh, there's someone at the door, or is that?
I said to you before, bells are going. The power's going off. The energy's intense. It's the doorbell, but that's fine. They can wait. It's all
okay. Go. Just you've got the toolbox. You've got a whole lot of different tools.
Yep.
You were saying before that people that come to you, they're at different levels as well, on their spiritual path. Say, I don't know if that's the best way of saying it.
Yep.
Is there a correlation between the person's whether your client is at on a spiritual level and the amount of healing that can happen? Like,
That's a good question.
That's a good question, and you're so on point. I'll give you a classic example. So whenever I see a new customer for the first time, I'll always recommend they go for a clairvoyant healing. That allows me to check in with their energy, where they're at, what they need, all of that sort of stuff. Now, I get some customers that come in for a clairvoyant healing that are very high energy. So it's like, okay, if we trust, let's go. And I've had some customers in the last week or so that we've gone, I don't want to blow your viewers' minds, but we go out to space. And we go out into these little ships out into space, and they take us and they offer healings, and I get to see and watch it all and all of that sort of stuff. You get your other people that are very new, they're very scared, so they're very unsure. And what will happen is I'm just going to give them some energy work. They feel tingles all over their body, but it's enough to relax them. And then they feel a shift, they feel different. And for me, a lot of them is just feeling lighter. Then when they walked in, they'll walk out a lot lighter. So they feel like, oh, something, I feel different. I feel lighter. This is great.
They need to know the difference, and so they're ready for the next things.
Correct. So I always say to my customers, when you're looking for a treatment, start off with the clairvoyant healing. That allows me to gauge where you're at, what you're up to, and what you can then, hope to achieve, or where you need to go. Now, I'm a really funny person, because if I didn't see my customers, I'd be really happy, because that means life is good for them.
Yes.
Does that make sense? I don't want to have customers dependent on me, and I discourage people from booking every month or doing this. It's just like, no.
It doesn't help us make money, but that's not what it's about.
Exactly.
Not what
We
it's
want
about.
them to learn how to be good
Look
and
after themselves.
if we're trying to teach them at the same time to
we're not doing our
maintain-
job properly. If that's
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I always say, and I'm sorry to chiropractors, but I always say, I'm not a chiropractor. I don't need to see you every week.
Same. And they say to me, how often should I see you? It's like, when you feel like you need it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lock that in. But I'll say to them, next time you come, you need this. You might need a Palawa. You might need a Sakim. Or if you've got the time to spare, we go and do a QHHT, which is like 6 or 7 hours in time, but you'll get the answers that you want, or you'll be able to move forward with what you need. So that's where I start. I always start with a clairvoyant healing.
So the clairvoyance, I'm taking over. Xavier's just sitting there quiet.
Fine. I'm just gonna, it's like you're interviewing both of us, and I just chime in every now and then.
I know. Hey X, take a back seat. We've got this one.
I said to you at the start, I'll be just sitting here going, you guys just chat.
Love it.
Okay, so
Especially
for you, the clairvoyant session is like the diagnosis. Yeah. And so with a clairvoyant session, what does that entail?
So it's the easiest introduction for people. So I usually break it down like this. So we start off with, for me, a half an hour chakra balance. So I know where their chakras are at, and where they're at with the balance. Usually most people, 9 out of 10, the bottom 3 chakras are way out, and then the top 3 are pretty much okay. So I'll spend half an hour doing that. And I don't touch them. I don't touch at that point. Then for the last half an hour, I'll put my hands on their crown chakra, and I do what I call a cosmic clean out. So I'm pulling out all the crap that they've held on to, beliefs and programs that are not theirs. When you're told as a child, you can't do that, and you're not good enough to do that, Johnny, and people hold on to that. Ancestral healing, DNA that's come down the line that's got issues. At that point, I clear it all out.
When you say clear it out, are you
like that?
I'm actually seeing, because my hands are on the
crown. And then you have to release it from yourself?
No. I go to automatic mode. I play with the angels and the guides and the mediums and all of that sort of stuff and the spirits, and I ask for specific types of rainbows to come in, and that rainbow has a function. So there's I start off with the green rainbow, and what the green rainbow is, it's like a vacuum, and it just sucks things out. So I see pieces of to me, it's described like coal coming out of the people's head. It's like, oh, okay, see ya.
In your mind's eye.
Yeah.
Do you actually see, how do you see?
It's all in my third eye. Everything's in my
okay.
third
So
eye.
through your mind's eye, you're seeing that. Like if you had your eyes closed, dream state, like
perfect.
an imagination.
That's a great way to explain it.
See it as if you're imagining it.
Because
you're
usually
not
I have
imagining
my
it,
eyes closed. Usually I have my eyes closed, because that's a better way for me to focus on exactly what it is I'm trying to hone in on, if that makes sense. So my eyes are closed, coal's flying out, and it's like, oh, okay. Then what I try and do is I bring in another rainbow. This one's a white rainbow, and I actually line the inside of the brain and the head with it. Cool. And it's like a sponge, and it absorbs the anxiety, the depression. And I say to this white rainbow, okay, come on, start sucking it all in, because this person doesn't need to carry it again. Then I use a black rainbow, and that goes all over the body. It's like a cosmic Hoover, and it really just wants to suck up any anxiety that's in the flesh, in the body, because your body's a vessel that holds a lot of emotions and stuff like that. It traps it.
Does that take time for you? Like, do you just go black rainbow and it's there, or is it like, okay, black rainbow and you have to wait for it to come and it goes? It's just there. You just,
so it's an intentional thing. It's an intentional. Okay, I say I want the green rainbow in, and I'll give them a number. I might want, okay, this one's gentle. I need 1 green rainbow. If I've got somebody that's going through a lot of crap, and I mean a lot of crap, I want 100 green rainbows to come in, and we'd get this done quickly. So it just depends on each individual person.
But that's not going to take away like 20 years, 8 years of childhood trauma.
No,
but it'll take away, like, what's that do?
It takes, think of it like this. This is the easiest way for me to explain it, Mick, is it takes away the burdens that they're carrying about that.
Right, at that time.
Does that make sense? Because they carry them on their shoulders and they walk around like this.
Yeah, well, nothing goes away. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
But what I'm also doing,
about it.
While this is happening, I'm talking to them at the same time. So it's all happening simultaneously. And then I'm poking them. And I'm actually saying to them, how good are you that you've had that experience? And they're just looking at me going, you for real? It's like, no. Because I'm saying to you, look at what it's created in you now. You're a strong person. You can stand up for yourself. You're not tolerating crap. I said, everybody has these experiences for a reason, for a purpose. It helps us grow. And if you've done any of Dolores Cannon's readings or works, she always says to us that, you come into life and you've actually signed up for quite a few of these experiences to grow your soul, to ascend your soul to higher levels. When I put it into that perspective for people, the penny drops and they go, oh my God, you're right. I am very lucky.
Because you're taking the stuff out at the same time. Like it's a little bit like theta healing, actually, it sounds like. So you're removing the actual issues and thoughts and perceptions, and then you're putting in new ones. So you're saying at the same time as you're cleaning out, giving these new thought patterns so they can readjust. So you're not just emptying out. Otherwise, they're going to be ready to soak up more shit.
Correct.
When they're thinking again.
If I take stuff out, I always replace.
You replace it with.
There needs to be that balance. They're always replaced. And then what I also do is halfway through, once I've done the big clean out, I fill them up, I lift them up, and then I force selenite through the body, because selenite is the perfect cleanser. It's a calmer, it's a protective stone. So I do this visualization with them that goes for about 10 minutes. And they go, I don't know what you've just done, but I feel $1 million. And that's the selenite going through the body. And I do it at different levels, like inside their body, the whole body, the room, the size of the planet, and then the cosmos, so that they've got this level of protection from selenite wherever they go. So this is what a clairvoyant healing is. So my intention with the clairvoyant healing is for different levels of energies to understand where they're at, to work out what they can tolerate, and to work out for them, okay, what their next steps might be in life.
So many people be like looking, he's called a Manti moon, like right now.
Yes.
You get so much done in that time, and it's beautiful explanation, because people always ask me, like, what's in I call it an intuitive healing, that's how I describe it. They go, what entails that? And that was such, and we all do it so differently. Correct. So Charles's description of how he does it sounds so thorough, and oh my God, in just that first hour, you've just blown minds everywhere listening to this. Let alone you. That's just a tester one.
Just
you're ready for the next
introduction.
That's a diagnosis.
Like, woo. And you're helping clean them out so they're ready and receptive, though, for more as well. Like, you got to get them in the right state. I always start with the chakra balance as well.
Exactly. You've got to get them, if they've never had energy.
It's like a prep. It's like a prep work as well.
So they're ready to receive. Otherwise,
so it's a diagnosis and a prep for anything else that needs to happen in the future.
And it makes them very comfortable in what the process is. You know, the hardest part, I say to them when they walk in the room, now the hardest part for you is to lie down on the table. That's the hardest part. I said, let the universe do the rest. And as long as you're trusting, and as long as you're ready to receive, the hard part's done, because you turned up.
But they'll be so confused, because some could be, I suppose they have to be ready for it in some way, and trust that you are going to do all this stuff and help them assist with their own healing in an hour session. When people spend months, years going through trauma, processing it, talking about it with psychologists, and I'm not, if there's different kinds of modalities.
Sometimes you need
we've discussed this. We've discussed this many times. Some people need it as a longer, slower process, because that's what they're eating. Other people just need someone to get a vacuum of 100 green rainbows and get it done for them, so they can just chill.
Correct.
But I don't think it's the easy way out. It sounds like
There's
Because
no
you have to
easy
trust so
way.
much.
No easy way, right.
It's a big deal as well. So neither are better than the other one. Just depends on where you're guided is definitely what you're supposed to do, I think.
Correct. And I get a lot of people that have tried other things.
Yeah, same.
And then other things might not
Yes.
have worked. And see, that's
Why else would someone go and see a hypnotherapist if they hadn't tried other things?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking forward to you guys talking about.
But that's
HT and Michael's version of hypnotherapy as well with past lives. Like
perfect. And that leads to that. Once we've tried clairvoyant healing, because clairvoyant healing is a label, but as Xavier does, it does past life release. We do lots of past lives with that. We can do lots. So whatever
We'll do anything with it.
Correct. Whatever that person is open to receiving. So, I just say to my customers, just relax, and whatever your higher self allows you to receive, you will receive, because you're in control. And I always say that to my customers because they'll get worried. It's like, what are you going to do to me? It's like, I'm not going to do anything to you because you're in control. Your higher self will allow whatever it needs to receive to receive.
That leads to my next question. And I'm sorry, I'm so ignorant on this energy healing stuff. You say that, and you kind of said it quickly, but you say that I play around with angels and spirit guides, and then you just went into it. Okay, let's drag that bit out. You can't just say that. I just play with angels. Yeah, who doesn't? No, but with so say spirit guides or whatever it is, council of elders or angels or whatever the heck it is, are they yours or are they the client that's come there? And then how do you, so if it is the client that's come there, do you need your guides or whatever to get permission to talk to them? Like what's going on?
I love the way you work me. So before my clients come, I sort of meditate.
Right.
And I set a meditation. So I always have my client's name because it's all booked in. And what I say is, one of my mantras is, okay, I want you to connect my higher self to my client's higher self. Okay. And build a bridge between us. So that what they're not receiving, you give to me to give to them, if that makes sense. So what I'm actually being is, I'm the receptacle for the information that comes, because quite clearly they're not getting it.
Why?
So,
why wouldn't they? What are they blocking it? What's blocking their guides from giving the healing directly?
Nothing's blocking their guides from giving it directly. The key is they don't know how to do it. They're not aware. So they're getting signs and symbols from their guides every day, but they're not tuning in. So think about it like this. Your guides and angels and your team, I want to call it your team, they're broadcasting on a specific radio station and the customers haven't tuned it in properly. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what I'm that frequency modulator dial, and I'm tuning it in so that I'm getting their information for them. So I'll be doing a session and then the guides and angels will come in. Or it could also be, I don't claim that I'm a medium, so don't book me for a mediumship work, but I'll get people that have passed over in their family that will come and tell me stuff. And they're saying to me, I had one lady, tell her not to drink milk because it's not good for her stomach. And she continually does it and she's got to stop doing it. So I'll say, stop drinking milk. She'll say, oh yeah, I've been told that, but I don't do it. We're saying, stop. I get things like that all the time.
So really specific, is that in the meditation?
No, that's it. Well, sometimes in the meditation, they give me things. It's like, oh, okay, but the customer's not here. When I start, it just comes. It's like a flood of information sometimes. And it's like, okay, I can deal with one thing at a time. So we talk about that. Then they say to me, talk about this. And trust me, some of the things, this is where you've got to trust. Some of the things are so left of center and so random. I had a lady come in and she's on the table and we're having the best session. And they've dropped into my head, ask her about the duck that jumps the fence and walks across the backyard and jumps the other fence. How random is that? And I said to her, tell me about the duck that jumps the fence, crosses the backyard, jumps the other fence. And she laughed. She goes, oh my goodness gracious me, how do you know about that? That's at my parents' place. And every time I go, this duck jumps the fence, crosses the backyard and jumps the other fence. And that sometimes builds for us a connection. There's a belief that you don't know that. You don't know that about me, something totally random. At that point, I get their trust. And it's like, okay, it comes through and then off we go. So you get random things make that happen all the time.
That's what happens with mediums, I've noticed, because the spirit will think of something totally random. Like I just went to see a great medium on Friday night and she gave the example that she's like, hang on, they're just letting me know that you got some new knickers. And everyone was cracking up laughing. She's like, oh my God, I did just get gifted undies. So that helped her just, then that everything else she says about what's coming through is accurate and you should listen to it, because otherwise, because that was true.
Correct.
So it's the same then. Yeah, like that kind of example. I love
Correct.
that.
But give you something that's irrelevant to everyday life, but it's relevant to that customer at that time.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Great. So you can't, I guess you can't really, it's funny because we lock ourselves into, I do this, I do that. I work for Qantas. I just do this. I don't fix planes. Right. So as an energy healer, though, because what you're doing is tapping into, I don't know, the etherical realm. Is that a good way of putting it? I don't know. The party upstairs.
I just call it the universe. I just
the universe. Okay, you're tapping because you're tapping into the universe. Psychic things will happen, and like medium type things will happen, even though that's not your role, because you're tapping into that world. Those sort of things will flood in, but it's not about. But your role is trying to just be a healer.
My role is just to facilitate, to hold the space so that healing can happen for this customer.
Yeah.
And then the guidance that I receive, I pass on. So I'm just, as I said at the start, I'm like the conduit to make this happen for that person, if that makes sense. I'm the go-between, because you've got a power point and a socket, but for some reason they're like magnets, they repel each other. So I'm the one that pulls them together and makes it happen, if that makes sense. That's probably the best way to describe it.
So you flip it around so that it goes together. Yeah. Okay. All right.
The humbleness. So you're allowed to not be so humble, because it's not just that you're the conduit, and I've learned to do this too. I'm, like you say, I'm just the conduit, it's not me. But it's the style, your bedside manner, the way you do things is what will draw people to you. And there's many healers out there, but there's somebody out there for everybody, because we all have different ways of doing things and styles. So you're a credit to who comes to you and repeat customers, word of mouth, and it spreads. And and then we all refer each other as well, which is really lovely. Because we know who might suit as well.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. Bedside manner. I've had some customers that have come to me in total distress from how another practitioner, let me use that term, a practitioner has spoken to them or delivered information, and it's put them into shock or into fear. And they come and see me, it's like, I've been told, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, calm it down. Now let's put it into perspective. We start the healing, and then I've reframed this person's mind because they were fried from what they've heard. So bedside manner and language and words are very powerful.
And coming from here.
Correct. It has to come from the heart.
So some other practitioners.
Correct. And I always say to somebody, if something's coming, it's like, let me preface this. You might not want to hear it, but I need to tell you anyway.
Yes.
But in my mind, I try and find the words that get the message across, but don't cause shock, don't cause anger, don't cause fear, all of these things. Does that make sense? Because all they're going to realize is the fear and anger, and you've walked away from that healing session with nothing. But if I've passed the message to you in such a way that you received it without fear or anger or stress or anything that's going to cause you concern, that's fine. We're doing it. So words, I want to say this to everybody that's watching. Words are powerful. Please watch your words.
Yes, please.
And that's for everyone, right? I mean,
healers or not.
It's interesting. You talk about this, and this is about, this can work in any modalities, is how you present yourself as the therapist, I suppose. So looking at, your own conditions and where you're at, if you've had a bad day or not a bad day, but you setting yourself and doing the meditation, not just to connect, but to put yourself in that mode to work with them, I think is testament. And also, I love the fact that you're very playful and curious, but also take it very seriously. And it sounds like an oxymoron, but I think you've just described exactly what you mean by that. So that it's fun, and but to go, okay, words are really important. How am I going to put this across?
Correct.
Being thoughtful. So I think that's a big difference. So I guess you are a healer. It's just you're not claiming that it's from your power. It's from a power somewhere else. So you're still a healer. So
it's a label. Healers, I don't like labels. It's just a label. No. I just facilitate it. That's all.
Yeah. So with other healers, if they're not putting themselves in that place, whether they've done it for a long time and they just can't be asked anymore, and they just show up and tune in and tell people how it is, being able to center yourself and do some kind of meditative practice, whether it's a formal meditation or not, that's a useful way of working when you're in that working
It
in
has
those
to
subtle
be.
energy realms?
It has to be, because that allows me to disconnect from life. Now, I'm a firm
Okay.
believer. You said something before, Mick, and I want to raise that. If
Okay.
I'm having a crappy day
Yeah.
and I'm not in the headspace, I'll cancel the booking. And I have no
Wow.
apologies about that, because I want my customers to have the best experience. I'm not in this for a quick cash grab. I want them to have an experience. If I'm having a crappy day, I'll call them and say, you know what? I'm having the worst day. We're going to have to reschedule this for another time and date that suits you and me. And I'll push you ahead of others. And that's what I do. And I'll give you a classic example of that one day. I did that to a lady. I said, look, I'm so sorry. I can't hold space for you today because I can't hold space for me. So I'm going to cancel. And we're going to do this. The first that I've got is in 2 weeks' time. Is that okay? I'm so sorry. And she goes, you know what, Charles? I love that you're honoring you. Let's do it in 2 weeks' time. The universe works in very funny ways, Nick, because she came to me 2 weeks later and she said to me, you know what, Charles? I went to the doctor today. I've got breast cancer. I said, good. Now, this is why the universe pushed us back 2 weeks, because you needed to hear that before I could actually do something with you. At that point, we took that healing to another level because stuff that was coming through, I actually said to this woman, through what I was guided to receive, I said, you asked for this, didn't you? I said, you asked for breast cancer, didn't you? And she stopped and she said, yes, I did, because one of my relatives had this. And I said, I would do anything to take that away from them. I would take that cancer away if you heal that person. Like she said that to God or to the universe. So they did. They healed that person, and then this person got the cancer. And that's why I said to her, words are very powerful. You've got to watch what you say. I said, because you asked for that. But that's an example of where I honor me. So if I can't hold space, I will cancel a booking without any reservations, without any thinking about it, because I'm not going to be in the best way to heal somebody or hold that space for somebody. And the universe will always do that for me. And then there's always a reason that we don't see, as in we're not supposed to do it that day. It's not the day that we do that. We push it back to a day that you're going to be more effective, if that makes sense.
So it was better for her that day anyway. Like it's meant to be. Maybe you had the crappy day for her because in 2 weeks' time was over.
That's exactly what happens. People don't understand that the universe puts all of these different machinations in place, so that if you're jumping the gun, I'm going to make you late in traffic. I'm going to slow you down. I'm going to give you a migraine at work so that you can't hold space for that day. And then we're going to push it back to when it should have been in the first place, so that we can get what we need from it.
No such thing as coincidence.
That's exactly right. There's no such thing as a coincidence. So this is why I like to have fun. See, fun is about a high vibration. Fun is good. Keeps the vibe high. But I'm very serious about what I do, because I want the best for my customers. And as I said at the start, I want them so that they don't come back. I love them, but I don't want to see them again, because if I can help them on their journey that they're the best versions of themselves, my work is done.
Yeah. Word of mouth can be how you get your customers, not repeating.
Yeah. And if you're not getting customers, then you weren't meant to be doing it.
Correct.
That's doing something up, whatever. So it's about, wow, there's authenticity then in surrendering to what you call the universe, because you're surrendering that the universe knows better than you. And even if it's going to be shit for you now, at least you're following. You'd rather it be shit and you follow the course.
I always say people shouldn't be doing, they shouldn't hold space if they're not well, because there's energetic debris that goes to your customers. So if I've got the flu and I'm trying to do a healing, guess what? They're going to cop it too. I don't want to put my customers in that space where energetic debris from me, whatever it might be, can go into them. So
I think epidemiologists would agree with that as well, to be honest.
I think they might.
But you mean in an energy way, like if you're
all kinds, germs and energy.
But that's how you got to look at it, because my energy field will come into your energy field. So if I've got debris from illness, whatever it might be, it's going to interfere with their energy as well. So that's why it's very for me, it's an integral part that if I don't feel well, if I don't feel like I can hold space, I won't, because it's not worth it for me to jeopardize a great possible healing just because I need to get that customer through. I'd rather push them back 2 weeks and let's do it properly in 2 weeks' time, whenever.
Because you don't know best anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know best. I don't know what's going on. And if they've got this condition, I could exacerbate it with the energy that I might be holding, and I don't want to do that.
That's a good point, because people they often take on energy that's not theirs and they don't realize, having mood swings and things like that. And so you're just mentioning that, like how many people, when you go to a crowded place, you're in a train, all those kind of things, you're mixing with everybody's energy. You don't know what's going on in there.
let's bring that up. Do you? I mean, can we have fun with this? So, like,
Yes, let's have fun.
With your obviously with your work, you
Yep.
are tapped into this subtle energy, and you use the energy from the higher realms of the person, and obviously your own higher realms as well,
Yep.
For good. Are there times the more you do that, like there's that saying, the longer you stare at the abyss, the abyss will begin to stare back at you, right? Do you find that went dark quick? Sorry. Will you find that when you're out in public in big spaces or walking past a funeral where there's certain energies or things, are you picking up on that energy more? Or is this something where you're like a normal human being walking around just going,
I can disconnect.
right?
And that's the key for me. So I can disconnect. So I know that's the intention of the meditation before I see a client, to open it up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So that's switching it on.
Yeah, that's like switching it on for me. It's like I switch it on fully. Let's use that, because think of like a dimmer switch. So I don't know why. Sometimes if I've got a client, like at 6:45 tonight, I've got a client, one of their relatives will come in at lunchtime. It's like, I'm here. And it's like, you're about 6 hours too early, so you can go and come back at 6:45.
Yeah.
So
And
then
like, that's right, time.
Yeah, correct.
That's right, you operate on time.
I forgot there's no,
Sorry, I thought the time doesn't exist, but yeah. So then I flick the switch, do the meditation, which is turning up the dimmer switch to full. It's like, now we're in here, let's go. And then at the end of it, I just shut it off. And it's just like, so I can be in public and not have to worry about other people's energies. I will still feel when I know, particularly where I work, because it's not a big space, but if there's only a few customers, I can read the energy very well. So this one needs a bit of love, give them some TLC, and this one, keep clear, they're very toxic today, keep clear at all costs. So
is that just muscle memory, because your subconscious is picking up these sort of things, like you're picking up more, maybe information and clues in your subconscious?
One of the things that I've always been good with is reading energy. Even as a little kid, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to you because you're nice. I'm not going anywhere near you because I don't like your energy.
Great with that. Yeah.
Kids and dogs. Kids and
dogs.
Correct.
Yep. So I've got the same ability, and I've always had it, and it was always particularly good, particularly at Qantas, because you just read the energy. It's like, oh, wow, this one's angry, so I'm going to check you in really, really quickly so that you can just go. Whereas the next one's like, oh, you need some love. I'm going to take 10 minutes checking you in so that I can give you everything you need. But that's what I do these days. But it doesn't drain me to the extent that like other empaths will be drained because they're feeling the energy of the community or whatever it might be. I don't get that. I'm very lucky. And it's funny because when I meditate to start an energy healing, I get the biggest energy rush. It's like, oh, let's go. I'm on fire. Let's do this. So it can be quite uplifting when you're logging in.
Thing is, I'd like to add is just because you're an empath, and we get that gets thrown around a lot, and they use it, and I'm sorry, but use that as an excuse to say that I take on everything. When you have intention, you can just have the intention that it doesn't affect you. You're not working at the moment. You're high vibrational, and my saying is I'm too shiny for this shit. So negative energy can't find me. Yes, so I don't even think about it.
I use RTS. I just say in my head, RTS, return to sender. Don't want it.
Exactly.
Not taking it on board.
I just say I'm too shiny for this shit, and that's it. Then I'm protected or done or high vibrational. You don't have to wear evil eyes and dark crystals and put yourself in a bubble. Just have the energy that I don't attract anything negative. I'm so shiny. They go, oh, I don't want to go near.
Correct. And I agree with you 100%. I don't do evil eyes. I don't carry crystals. I work in a crystal shop. I don't wear crystals. I don't do any of that.
Exactly.
What happened there?
I teach people. I
don't need to.
We're on the
lifetime. Mick, it's too many lifetimes in Atlantis where I've played with crystals thousands of years ago and I've done my head in, and now I'm back to them. I think I'm paying back karma working in a crystal store.
It's hilarious. You can recommend it for the people that are at that space and need it. So
look, crystals are great for those that need them and love them because they have an amazing energy. And having said that, I don't wear them, but when my clients come, I'm guided. I've got a big piece of selenite on the table, about 40 centimeters.
Use them.
And I will put crystal, like tumbled crystals on top. I get guided as to what my customers need. Doesn't mean that I need.
Yep.
That's just a whole nother topic to blow people's minds, because we obviously both think about it in that way. And I teach, when I'm mentoring psychics, I teach them that too. We discuss the need or no need for protection. So it's
agreed.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. My Rolls Royce is QHHT, and I will not offer that to everybody.
Thank you for bringing it up, because I'm like, we haven't even spoken about that yet.
I don't even know where to go. I'm silent. I'm not silent because I've got no questions. Just so you know, if there's silence, it's because I'm like, okay, what next?
QHHT is my heart. It is my passion. It is Dolores Cannon's work, and I got introduced to past lives in 1982, and I didn't even know what was happening. This is the universe talking to me as a child. I was 11. My parents had rented a VCR recorder, and we got a free movie with it called Somewhere in Time. Christopher Reeve, Jane Seymour, love story. And it's about a man that goes back in time 80 odd years through hypnosis. And it's my favorite film. It's my favorite music of my whole life. And the penny didn't drop until I started studying QHHT. And it's just like, Charles, they're telling you, you've got to go back in time through hypnosis to find all of your answers. So I read Brian Weiss, and another one is Dr. Michael Newton. Have you read Dr. Michael Newton, Journey of the Soul, Destiny of the Soul?
I haven't.
Oh my goodness gracious me. If you like hypnosis, it takes Brian Weiss to the next level, because Michael Newton talks about what happens between when you die and when you're reborn. So
Life
he does that.
lives.
Oh yeah. Correct. So it's like between lives. So he does that.
I probably haven't read it because I kind of just channeled that stuff.
Perfect.
He's got a whole institute, so people study specifically just for the.
I learn a bit differently.
Lives.
I don't.
Yes.
I get out of certain books. I'm a big Dolores Cannon fangirl.
Love it.
But then all that other stuff in between her teachings and a bit of Brian Weiss, I've channeled as I'm working, and I learned it. And then as you know, Charles, you handed me a book of Dolores Cannon, and that's how I was introduced.
Yes. 3 waves of volunteers.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to hijack your interview, but this is a great example. I was doing a healing on somebody, and then I got shown, and this is the whole trust thing, I was shown that they had another life happening at the same time. It was to do with their legs. They didn't, and I said to them, this is strange. What's going on with your legs? And I said, I've been getting pins and needles a lot. So that's interesting, because I'm just getting shown that right now you have another life where you've just had your legs amputated at the knees at the same time. And I'm really confused. I didn't know that was a thing. And then whichever book, so we disconnected and healed that and sorted it out. And then they weren't feeling each other's stuff anymore. And I'm like, I didn't know you can have 2 lives. I thot it was lineal.
No,
at the same time.
No.
And then you handed me this book to read from Dolores Cannon. I can't remember which bloody one it was.
They're all simultaneously happening. So she's feeling it.
And I read it in the book, and I went, oh, there's a confirmation for me that I'm not losing my mind, and I can trust all the extra cool stuff that comes through. And now that kind of thing happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I love it. So,
and that's the thing. Yes. It's normal. People don't understand it. I had a lady a few weeks ago. They showed me she's got 8 concurrent lives going at once. And that was through a clairvoyant healing. They pulled me back, took her out to space, and they showed me there's 8 bodies of her, there are 8 versions of her in all the different dimensions of time and space. Mm-hmm. And if one of them is out of sync, all of the others feel it.
Oh.
And it's just like, okay. So whatever I was doing to her in this physical dimension, it was rippling to all of the other 8. And it was just like, okay. So that was very powerful.
Our soul's impatient. We want to learn lots at once.
So it's like surrogate. Would you say it's like surrogate healing? You're healing this person to heal whatever.
Yeah.
Otherwise, so the issue might have been something else, right?
Yes, correct. So there's a surrogate going on, and that surrogate sits in front of me, and that allows me to then to go into another dimension of time and space to heal the other person that needs it, the other version of this person. So, yeah. And we do surrogates in QHHT as well.
Can you just say what QHHT is? Because it's just an acronym for many people right now.
QHHT is Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. Right. And it was designed by this beautiful woman, Dolores Cannon. I love her. I absolutely adore her. She formed this technique. So she's a trained hypnotherapist, trained in I think that's the 1960s.
I don't like how you use the talking marks trained hypnotherapist.
I don't mean that with any disrespect. I'm joking. There's a reason why I say that.
Trained hypnotherapist. Okay, so the energy healer. Yeah.
The reason why I say that, the reason why I did that is because Dolores is trained. And when Dolores then trains people, she prefers people that are not trained.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the mind is much easier to mold to what she wants.
Yeah.
So she had this technique. So I've read a lot of Brian Weiss's books. I think I've read every one of his books, and he does a lot of past life regression. Okay.
Many lives, many
lives, many masters.
Many
all
masters.
Of that
That's
stuff.
right.
Yeah. And then I went and saw one of his practitioners in Australia. And it was an hour session. It was a big investment. It was many years ago. It was $250 about 10 years ago. And I'm sitting on this couch and I went nowhere. All I could see were my eyelids. And she's saying, just picture yourself sitting on the roof of the house. And I'm thinking, why would I want to sit on the roof of the house? What's the point of that? That's how my mind was working.
Yeah.
And I went nowhere fast. Okay.
Yeah.
She took my money and she said, come back next time, we'll do it for free. And I never went back. What I liked about Dolores' technique over the Brian technique was Dolores gives us the complement of time. So I will take 5 or 6 hours with each client. My longest was so far 9.5 hours. And what Dolores does, she has a conversation. Yeah, she has a conversation at the start of the session. The conversation goes for at least 2 hours. And what that is it's designed for me and the customer to build a rapport, to build trust so that they feel safe to express everything. Now, in that 2 hours minimum, I'm going to dig, I'm going to poke, and I'm going to, make them cry and all of that sort of stuff so that they can start releasing and they can feel safe enough to start releasing. After the conversation has taken place, we then go and do the past life regression hypnosis. Now, according to Dolores, we allow 2 hours for that. So the hypnosis will go for about a 2-hour period. And what we do in that, we put them into hypnosis and the induction takes about 20 minutes. And then we go into past lifetimes. Now, the reason
So do you do like a relaxation induction?
Dolores has scripted this. I do not deviate from the script. I'm trained in how to use my voice. I'm trained in all of that stuff so that my customers are guided to go deep into
Gotcha.
relaxation. Okay, into hypnosis.
Yep.
So we take them into the theta state. And at that point, I ask them to start telling me what they see and where do they go and what are they seeing and then what happens next. So what I'm trying to do is disengage them from the left-hand side of their brain, which is the thinking brain, and Mr. Stupid, which is the ego. And we want to bring them into the right-hand side of their mind, which is where all of their past lives are stored. This is their creative side. This is where they're visual. This is where they see and have all these memories. So what we do is we tap into that. We tap into their past lives. Now, people will say to me in conversation, I want to go back to that lifetime in Egypt. I want to go to that lifetime in Atlantis. I want to go back to England. And I'll say to them, that's lovely. I'm really happy for you, but your higher self will take us to where your higher self needs us to go. So I've had in one particular client, she stayed in this lifetime, but we had to do 4 different pivotal moments in this lifetime that we had to work through.
Yeah.
So we do that. Other customers will go back to lifetimes on this planet. Let's use that. Other customers will go to lifetimes beyond this planet. It's just wherever they're aligned spiritually, how aware and how awake they are as to where they go. Now, the most beautiful part of this technique for me is after about an hour and a half of doing the past life regressions, we might do 3 or 4 different lifetimes in that time span. We then bring in their higher self and we actually have a conversation with the person's higher self. So I will usually ask my customers to come and have about a dozen questions that they want answered by their higher self. And we review those questions in the discussion phase before we start hypnosis. When the higher self is then present, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. When the higher self comes in, I then start asking these questions on their behalf. I also ask the higher self to explain, why did you show these lifetimes? What was important in these lifetimes that are so relevant for my customer now? What is it? And the higher self will explain why they needed to see that. Then I'll go through the questions. So my customers will come with about 12. I will always try and expand on those. So if the higher self says something that's quite pertinent, it's like, tell me more about that. Why do I need to know about that? Why does the customer need to know about that? I'll go through the 12 questions or so. And then what I offer is, this is where the quantum healing comes in. I offer the higher self an opportunity to scan the physical body of this person. Now,
Right.
I've broken it down. So Dolores just does what's called...
This is where this is different to normal past life regression.
This is where we take it up a notch.
Gotcha.
So Dolores talks about a body scan, okay? Through my years of doing this, I've actually broken it down even further. So I'll do a physical body scan. I'll do an emotional body scan. I'll do the new one, a white light body scan. And I'll do a spiritual body scan, because there are different things that sit in different bodies. And it's really important for me to ascertain where are the issues for this person, because this quantum healing, they say to me, oh my God, I'm getting really warm all over my body. What's happening? It's like, that's okay. That's just the energy coming through to try and release the blockages in a physical body problem. in a spiritual body problem or an emotional body problem.
As it's scanning, are you saying anything at the time? Do you vocalize to the person's higher self that you'd like to do the scan, or do you just do all of that internally?
Yes.
So you
So I'll give you
vocally.
Yeah, they're hearing everything. And the benefit of a QHHT session is as soon as we start the regression, it's recorded. And it's really important for it to be recorded because the customers need to play it back, especially the healing part, because the healing will be replayed and they'll get the energy sensations again. So I'm asking the higher self to start a body scan. So if I just say, start the body scan, I will say to the higher self, now, talk me through what you're seeing. Talk me through what you're doing. And this is talking through my client. So the client's talking the whole time. Okay, so the clients are telling me what they're seeing, but it's the higher self talking through the client. And I can tell through language as who's telling me what. So if it's just my client saying this and this and this, it's like, okay, but let your higher self tell me. Let your higher self come through. And then the higher self will come through with its language. And then off we go. So we're getting guidance. And I can tell you, I've had some amazing things. I actually had a lady when I was doing my free 25 sessions, and she's lying on the bed because you do it on a queen size bed. They're under a doona, so they're nice and warm. They feel safe. And her neck was out of alignment. And the higher self says, we need to fix that before she can go. So they've said to the client, take a nice deep breath. So she's gone in. And all of a sudden it's gone, click, 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 click. They put her neck back into alignment. Okay. This is all energy doing this. And then they said to me, when she wakes up, she'll say, oh my goodness, I feel fabulous. What did you do? And we took her out of the hypnosis, brought her back out of hypnosis, brought her back to time. And she says, oh my goodness gracious, I feel fabulous. What did you do? And I said, it wasn't me. It was your higher self bringing you back into an alignment. And they used energy to straighten her back. Okay. We have a lot of people that come for different reasons. I haven't had anybody that's had cancer, but Lowres actually had a lady at stage 4 cancer that the doctors said, look, we can't do any more for you. It's past that point. And she went and saw Lowres. And Lowres is fastidious. She takes the time and she wants to help people. So this woman had her healing. She felt good. But what this woman did, she was really, really smart. She bought an MP3 player and she put on the MP3 player the healing part of the QHHT session. She put it under her pillow every night on repeat, so that she would get it on a subconscious level. Well, this woman, through the energy, cured herself of stage 4 cancer. She's now a QHHT practitioner because she's seen the benefit of that.
Yeah. And she did that with the belief that it would have an effect as well, obviously. So in playing that and putting it there, she had the belief that that would do something.
She's setting an intention because everything we do in this lifetime needs an intention. If we set intentions, we can achieve anything. So this woman had set an intention. By me placing this MP3 player under my pillow every night, I'm going to hear it on a subconscious level. It is going to heal me of stage 4 cancer. So she set that intention, and that is what was created for her. Intention. The power of intention is the most amazing thing. And I say to people, same Exie, and I say to people, please don't underestimate the power of intention because it can create amazing things for you.
Yeah. How great was that confirmation for you? Like, as we were talking before, in your first sessions, in your first 25, you had someone where you heard their neck go crack, 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 crack. And you're just there going, what?
I was in disbelief because it's like, you read about this, Lowres tells you that this can happen. And I was in utter disbelief that this happened. My longest session was 9.5 hours. And when we start, we don't stop. Like, you can stop for toilet breaks. I actually love it when my customers are in hypnosis and they need to go to the toilet. Because when they go to the toilet, you take them to the toilet, they go to the toilet, they come back, and then they go deeper. And for that, you can go some amazing places. But my longest session was 9.5 hours. And I had this amazing woman. She turned up 2 hours late. Again, the universe saying it wasn't supposed to be at 9 o'clock, Charles. It was supposed to be 11:11 when she walked through your doors. And the amazing thing that happened in that session was the amount of energy that came in. She had no past lifetimes to go back to. So all that happened was popped her into hypnosis. There was an energy that wasn't the most pleasant. We gave it love and sent it on its way. And then the higher self came in. And I had this woman's higher self for 3.5 hours. Just telling me stuff about this woman, and we recorded that. After the 9.5 hours, we have a bit of a debrief. I sent her on a merry way. I had so much energy that I could have run a 42-kilometer marathon. I was on an energy high for 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
Because of the energy of this woman's higher self that had come through for the 3.5 hours. So it's they feel it, I feel it. And all I feel really is this amazing amount of love that comes in from the cosmos for this person that's lying in front of me. That's why I love it so much. I have such passion for it.
I remember my session with you, Charles. I really enjoyed. That was years ago now, so maybe I'll do
Nice.
another one because it could be very different because of like the evolution of the level you're at. The whole session will be very different now. But I remember you thought it was hilarious that I corrected you because my higher self corrected you because you said the name wrong.
Yes.
And I would never speak like that, and I could hear myself speaking, but I'm not really.
Correct.
I can hear it, but I'm not controlling what I'm saying. That's the feeling I had during it.
And that's exactly what it is. I had a beautiful lady. She was Italian. And when a high self came through, it was like this Japanese man. The voice changed dramatically.
Yeah.
So I knew it's like, okay, that's not her. That's somebody different. And I'm also listening for the language. Dolores tells us what to listen for, how to listen. So QHHT is for me, a very involved session because I'm taking you into hypnosis. I'm watching your eye movements. I'm watching your facial movements. I'm watching your breathing. I'm asking you questions. I'm listening to your answers, and I'm writing it down at the same time. So I'm doing a lot of different things in that session so that I can just make sure that you're in the safest possible place that you can be in. If there's pain and suffering that you don't need to feel, I remove you from that so that you can see it, but you don't need to experience the pain in it. So that you can get the relief or the understanding of why you might feel the way you do in this lifetime. Okay, that's the key of QHHT. It's showing you things from other lifetimes that you can't put your finger on in this lifetime. It's why do I feel that way? Why is that triggering me? Why?
Well, how would you know? How would you know unless you
exactly right
remembered or had an idea on what that past life is? Having said that, you said that growing up. Can we go back to where you parked?
Yep.
Well, you parked on your right side. Sorry.
That's okay.
When you were 7, you did do that actually. You parked. You said you parked on the right side. About that feeling of like old England or something. Like what were those?
Yeah, like simultaneous lifetimes in England from the 1800s and all of that sort of stuff. It was not until I read Journey of the Souls or Destiny of the Souls by Michael Newton that it made me feel normal. It made me feel like, oh my goodness gracious me, I'm actually remembering stuff from other lifetimes.
Was it important for you? Did you work out what that? Okay.
I didn't need to
understand. Share, or is it?
No, it's good. I didn't need to understand. Let me say this. I didn't need to understand what the life was. What I needed to understand was what I was seeing made me feel normal because it's like I understand why I saw what I saw. I understand why I was having those thoughts about being in other dimensions of time and space, if that makes sense. Because I was remembering other lifetimes. Does that make sense? I wasn't just fantasizing. I was connecting. It's like, and my reasoning is because my soul was saying, come on, think. You've got to be awake. Stay awake. Think of other lifetimes. Think of other dimensions. Think of all of that stuff. And that's really where I am now. In this lifetime, I'm always pondering other dimensions of time and space and other realities and things like that. So reading these books just made me feel, oh my goodness gracious me, somebody else gets me. Somebody else. And that's why I love Lowres so much. That I was crying reading her books because it's like, you get me. You understand me. When I went to Manchester in 2017, Lowres had unfortunately passed away. So I went and studied level 2 of QHHT with her daughter, Julia.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to Julia, and I was in a class of 10, it was perfect. I said to Julia, my biggest regret in this lifetime is not meeting your mother. I said, because your mother has made such an impact on my lifetime through her work that I regret not waking up earlier or sooner to be having a connection with her, having a bond, and just having a conversation with her would have made my life fantastic, even more fantastic than what it is. So that was one of my regrets, but she just made me feel normal. And that was really an interesting step to feel normal. Because sometimes you think, am I the only one that feels like this? Am I the only one that feels that way? So when I get customers and they explain to me what they feel or what they think, and I say to them, oh, good, you get that too. You see the relief on their faces because it's like, oh, you're normal like me. I get that too. And they go, oh my goodness gracious me, I haven't told anybody on the planet that. Now you get me. That's great. We built a bond. And then they feel they can express more. Okay, they can share more. And then that takes their healing on a different level because they're opening up and more wants to come to them. So it's a very interesting feeling of being, I feel like it's just being validated, okay, what you might have thought. Validation is a very important thing, and finding others that have had the same experience that you've had. We share that. We're making people feel normal in their own skin. Is that, and I'm thinking of other people and
like people listening at the moment, as well as we're all listening to you simultaneously at different times. It's like, oh, this world is so fractal. It's even happening with this podcast.
Correct.
Yes.
That reading and finding people to feel normal again. So listening to, reading different books or listening to different books, however you do it, and hearing different people and feeling normal. Do you think that's an important path for you to then do what you need to do? I mean, your number one job is to hold space, right? And all these tools help you do it, but your job is to hold space, whether it's clairvoyant healing or hypnotherapy, whatever it is, you're holding that space. For you to do that really well, you need to feel comfortable in who you are, that it makes sense and everything just kind of clicks. Is it important then to be reading lots of different stuff and really clicking with stuff that makes sense on an internal level to help you to become who you are?
I have to be honest. Oh, sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to say, is it that, or is that just a case of that whole, you just read what you like, and then that horrible cycle of like the Facebook syndrome?
I say to people, read what makes your heart sing.
Right.
People, I live in this spiritual world. Everybody's love and light, all that sort of stuff. They've all read Eckhart Tolle. They've all read Louise Hay. They've all read all of these people. I haven't read any of them.
Haven't read any of them.
Good girl. Because they don't resonate with me. People say to me, Charles, how do I start my journey? And I'll always say to them, there's a bookshop in Williamstown called Back to Basics in Victoria. I said, they stock the most amazing spiritual library. It's got everything that you could ever think of. I said, go and spend a day there and then just have a look at their shelves and have a look at what makes your heart sing. I said, because you'll find something in there that's going to make your heart sing that you might want to read. When you start that, it'll open up other doors.
Well, you think you're supposed to read because everyone else says it and recommends it.
Correct.
Yes,
I'm reading Abraham Hicks. I'm reading this. I'm reading that. Yeah, good luck.
I kind of haven't read them because everyone says to read them.
Actually, I'm the same. We're not sheep.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't feel like that's our spiritual path.
You have to copy. Yeah.
I don't.
But
say
you
that
might
with
be guided
disrespect,
because of the recommendations. Well, though, like follow it if you feel it. Like.
Correct. I've bought all these books that I haven't read. They're sitting on a shelf in my healing room, and I get guided to read. Like I've just finished A Course in Miracles. Now. I that started for me in 2017.
That's a book, or you did A Course in Miracles?
No,
I'm just trying to work it out. Okay, so you didn't go to the Vatican and study A Course in Miracles?
I don't think they'd let me in.
That's the other one, actually.
The lightning bolts on the way in.
Correct, the lightning bolts. He's a
Dodge the lightning
non-believer.
bolts.
He's a non-believer. Don't let him in. No, I was.
They probably would,
I believe so.
Yeah, I think they
Mr.
would let
Modi.
you. No, I'm saying they would let you in.
Oh, they'd let anybody into these places, trust me. And I must say, I have been to the Vatican, and the energy in the Vatican is beautiful. It's really special.
Great. Catholics just led to sigh of relief.
Yes. Mr. Modi was my paramedic. He goes, in time, you need to read A Course in Miracles. Then I was starting to read other books that I was guided to read from my heart space. A Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles. I was like, all right, I'm going to have to put that aside, and I'm going to have to do that. So I bought that book in 2017. And I started to read it. It's like, this is like reading the phone book. This is ridiculous. How am I going to do this? Because every sentence is numbered. It's numbered sentences, and there's 600 pages of numbered sentences. And it's like, this is crazy. So what I decided to do is in 2020, we're out of lockdown number 1. And I suggested to people, if anybody's interested in reading this book with me, we'll do it as a group. And we did it over Zoom. And what I proposed was we will do a chapter a fortnight. Then we'll meet up on Zoom, and we all get to debrief it together. Wow, that was the best way to read this book, because we all got this book and we've all highlighted parts that we loved and underlined and dog-eared and all of that sort of stuff. And it was nice to come together every fortnight. What did you get from that chapter? What did you get? This is what I took from that. What did you get? And it was such a beautiful way of like-minded souls to share what they got, their interpretations of this amazing text. And from that, I've seen we did it for 15 months. I said, to see the people that started, we had like 15 people. We finished with a core group of 6. But that core group of 6 people changed so much from the start of the book to the finish of the book. And it was just a beautiful thing to see. So I say to people, read what you feel you're guided to read. Read what you need to do. And when the time's right, if you've bought that book and you've popped it on the shelf, when the time's right, you'll go and reach for it, and it will have some pearls of wisdom that you need to garnish, and then off you go, or garner, and off you go.
Love that. That's an example of me not reaching for a book that I didn't feel guided to, because I was invited to that group, and then I looked at it.
And that's perfect.
No, that's not for me.
And see, but that's perfect, because that's honoring you.
Yes.
And that's what it needs to be. There's nothing in that text that's going to make you go, I get that. Does that make sense?
Sounds snobby. Oh, I don't need that book.
It's not snobby, because it's like,
it's not. It's just,
it's not on your pathway to
I might need to read it in the future. Oh, who knows?
Correct. And that's why when people say to me, Charles, where do I start? And I will go and say, where is your passion? It's the first thing I throw back to them. Where is your passion? And I say to them, for me, it all started by those two words, past lives. And that started this amazing journey. That whole sentence started me on this spiritual healing. And then I thought, okay, so if I'm going to do clairvoyant healing, how do I get people in the front door? Because they don't understand energy healing. So then I did tarot readings. I was like, okay, I'll do tarot, because people will go and get their cards read. So then I introduced them to tarot. And if they bought an hour session, I'd give them a half an hour reading, a healing for free. And that's how I developed it. And now people come more so for the healings than they do for the readings. So, and then I needed to do, okay, I need different layers of healings for different layers of people, for the different levels that they're on. And that's how I created what I've created. So I'm at the point now, it's like I'm getting ready to learn something new. And if you haven't looked at my website, and Mick and Exie, you've got my my bio that I put there.
Yes.
If you notice, I've never done anything at a master level. I've never become a Reiki master. I've never done Seiki.
You don't need to. You channel it as you're working.
But that's exactly right, Exie. I don't want to have that label that says I'm a master, because a master says I know everything. So I'll always go to the second top level, like level 2. Even QHHT, I'm only level 2, and I won't do level 3, because for me, there is always opportunities for more. I don't want to shut it down by saying I'm a master, I can do that. So no, I'm never a master. I always encourage myself to learn more, push it further, see more, do more, so that I can be the best version of myself.
I like that.
So there's a way, I guess it's kind of like, you know, what sports should I play? It's kind of the same kind of answer as that, because everyone's different. How do you avoid then that whole confirmation bias? So you like how this person sounds, so then you just listen to people that like how this, like you're a Dolores Cannon fan, so you'll only listen to people that are interested in Dolores Cannon, and you don't get all of the information of other possibilities. Is there the issue of like falling into that confirmation bias while you're exploring what makes your heart sing?
I like what you say, and I like the question, because I always like to look at, I'm particularly a lot on YouTube, and I'm always looking at different avenues of where am I getting my information from? Who's going to push my thinking? Who's going to push my thought processes? And one of the ones that I absolutely adore is Cryon. Have you heard of Cryon?
No.
He's a channel, and this man Lee Carroll has been channeling this energy from the universe called Cryon since the 80s, and he's so relevant with his information that he's been invited to the United Nations 5 times to speak to the United Nations. I like to listen to him, and then from him I go and find other people. There's another channel called Adironda, and then I will go and look at different things. So I'm always putting my finger in many pies to see, how does this sit with me? Do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I not like it? So I'm always testing the waters,
keeping a curious mind again,
right?
Rather than this is it.
Because if I had stuck with Brian Weiss, I would never have found Dolores Cannon.
Correct. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, probably not.
So so I'm always pushing my mind. So now I found Dolores, that is fine. But now I'm looking for, what's the next thing that I need to look at?
You're still on the same wagon though.
Oh,
you're still on the same wagon.
I'll always be on the wagon, wagon, because that's where my heart sits. I've got to honor my heart. My heart says I need to go and do that. But I'm always looking. So my mind is now looking for, what's the next element? Because I've got some amazing techniques there. The arbor healing, for example, it's a 5-minute technique. But I've used it, I think, 3 times, because you're cutting into somebody's energy, ripping out their soul, recharging it, putting it back in, and healing them over. So you've really got to be careful with when you use it. And I've used that on people.
You're not doing that now, are you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Never
But
without
I've done it on a woman who used to self-harm herself. And it's
Okay,
like,
yeah.
this is not in your highest good. So I did that. I gave her a healing session. I said, just give me 5 minutes and let me do this other thing. And we did, and we reprogrammed and sent it back. And she met the man of her life and the man of her dreams, and she got married, and she doesn't do that anymore. So
Right.
there are amazing techniques that you can use. And I'm
Yeah.
always looking for something a little bit different that's very left at center. So at the moment, my energy is going towards scalar frequency, scalar healing, all of that sort of stuff. So that's what I think I'm going next, sound, into more of the sound.
Yeah. One thing that I think is really lovely about you is that, like, you learnt that that technique, and you're not I'm a this person now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just that was amazing. If that's needed, I'll use it. I've only used it 3 times.
Lots of modalities. Yep.
Like, you know, you see them as tools, not identities, and perhaps you could do master training in something, but you don't like the title and the fact that it's like a, you know, you see it more as a tool than I am a titled master of. Yeah.
I struggle. I really do struggle. I've seen so many people go and do, this is just, there's nothing wrong, but I've seen so many people go and do Reiki 1, 2, and 3, become a master. Okay.
Yep.
The first thing they go and do when they're a Reiki master, I'm going to go and teach other people. And that just rings such alarm bells to me, because it's like, you haven't practiced on people. You don't know how people are going to react. And if they have a reaction, what do you then do? And you're going to go and teach people this. So I struggle sometimes with that, because it's like, for me, it's all about, I've got to practice. I've got to hone my skill. I've got to take the time and the energy to be comfortable with what it is I do.
Yes.
And how I do. So then when I'm teaching it, because I teach people, but I don't do it often, but when I do, I want them to throw questions at me about what happens in this situation. And I'll go, yes, great question. I've had that happen, and this is what I had to do. And I'll give you an example. Last week, I was doing a clairvoyant healing, and they were about to rip this woman's energy out of her body and replace it. Now, she's asleep on the table, but telepathically, we're having a conversation, and she was scared. And I'm just holding a space, and I'm saying, it's okay. It's all good. You're going to do this. It's going to be fine. It's going to be in, out. You're not going to know it. And it was in, out, and I could just see the relief. Now, if I'm teaching that, I can say, I've had that experience. Just hold the space, have no fear, and get on with it. Does that make sense? But if you're teaching something and you haven't had that experience, you're not going to know what to tell your people.
I feel like you've just explained the difference between, because we talk about, you know, trust with what you do. I feel like you've just explained the difference between trust and faith.
Yeah.
So in the work that you're doing, you're not just, I have faith that energy healing works and it's good for you. You're like, I've done this and this has happened. I've done that and that's happened. I'm in the moment, and, you know, I've tuned in, and, you know, I'm connecting with your higher spirit. It's not like, if I do this and bring in green, you'll be fine. It's like it's actual, you're trusting it because you've tried it. You've tried different things. You know when something's going right or going wrong.
Yep.
That's the difference between.
And
so the doubt comes when it's just a faith, where you just go, energy healing's great, and you do a course, and then you go and you put your hands over people and go, that should have been it, shouldn't it? Or do I click twice?
Yeah, correct.
I don't remember. So that's like a hit and hope versus tried and tested. So it's not, this should work. It's like, I know if it's working or not.
Correct. And that's why for me, everything is repetition. You keep doing it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it, and you'll see it. When I trusted that, the universe matched my trust with, okay, now you're ready. I'm going to show you more. I'm going to give you more tools.
Exactly.
I'm going to make that experience even more worthwhile for you.
That's when we channel that stuff.
That's exactly right. So that's where, for me, it took me a long time to want to teach, because I wasn't ready to teach, because I didn't feel like I had enough experience under my belt in this lifetime that if people can ask me questions, I knew the answer. Okay. So because people used to say that to me with tarot readings. How long have you been reading tarot? And I'd say, 18 months in this lifetime. And I always preface that, in this lifetime, because I've done it in other lifetimes. I've just reawakened it in this lifetime.
We're tapping into some of it and remembering what we've done in other lives.
Correct.
Is there then, I know we're getting late in the game.
We need to wrap it up soon, but we want to keep talking.
I was just going to say, is there a link between, particularly with this energy healing, some kind of inherent memory that comes through with past lives where you've done this in the past?
That's a really good question. I haven't seen, I've done a QHHT. I've had a QHHT. I've actually had them twice now. They don't show me stuff that's going to be relevant for what I do now, if that makes sense. So I run on, I know I've done it because I know these skills. And I'll give you an example of that. When I was training Palawa 1 and 2, after day 1, my facilitator said to me, "Have you done this before?" And I said, "No." I said, "I don't even know why I'm doing the class." The word jumped out at me, means angelic shift of consciousness. And I thought, oh, that sounds good. I'll do that. Because you're already doing level 3 work. He goes, "I've got people standing there doing this. You're already running around the table doing this and all that stuff." He goes, "You're doing level 3 already."
Okay.
I said, well, maybe what I'm doing is just reawakening this wisdom or knowledge that I've had in other lifetimes, that it was time for me to reawaken.
Ready for that now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Good explanation.
Love how you work.
That's how I'm living my life. It will come to me as I need it.
I feel like anyone who's listening who wants to come to you for a session knows that any advice you give is going to be so authentic and real because you have had all that experience, and anything you teach, even if it's not in an official class, but just teaching your clients, which is what I love to do. I feel like it's more of the lesson while the work is happening, teaching, which is great. They're going to get so much gold in there because you've had that experience, and that's really nice. So that authenticity and knowing that you can give great examples.
And the key that I like to give to my customers, I do them, I work I have Mondays off. So Mondays are my at-home customer days. And then I'll do the night times, Monday to Friday. I only book one customer in, and I usually say it's an hour's appointment. But if they need an hour and a half, they get an hour and a half. If they need 2 hours, they get 2 hours, because it's a case of, for me, I'm not going to start this job and leave you halfway. And I've seen people do that.
You can't.
I'm here. They can't. It's exactly right. But I've seen
you don't charge them extra if it goes overtime.
I don't charge them anything extra. This is my session. This is what you're paying, and this is what you're going to get. So, my first customers, the first visit usually runs over time because their chakras are all whacked. And I've got to realign the chakras.
I don't want to leave because they want to get you for hours thinking they're not paying extra.
And my husband says, "Can they go home? When do I get to play with you? Can they go home?" All of that.
Do you know what I mean?
But I give. So even when I do a QHHT, I say to them, it's 5 hours, but block out the whole day. I don't want you having to think of, I've got to go and pick up Johnny. I've got to go and do this. I've got to go and do that. No. If you can't block out the whole day, I'm not going to have you, because you're not going to be able to go into hypnosis because your mind's going to worry about, I've got to go and do this.
School pickup.
Yeah. So I like to give 100% of myself when I'm there, holding space, so that my customers know I give them everything that they need.
Beautiful.
That's just me. That's just me. People say you're an idiot, but that's fine. I like to live with integrity. I like to live with people going with knowing that I've done the best that I possibly could in holding that space for them. That's
another example of your energy and why people be drawn to you as opposed to others. Like, we go to where we're guided, and
correct.
That's the perfect vibe for your clients that find you.
I think you would be an idiot if that was just based on faith, but again, it's based on trust, because in the past the universe has provided for you, so you're just allowing the universe to provide. So, not an idiot.
It's really interesting because before I log in, when I meditate, it's like, oh my goodness gracious me!
Do you call it logging in?
I call it logging in.
That's so funny.
I'm logging in, and I said to the housemate,
do you ever forget your password?
Be quiet. I never forget the password.
Okay, that's all right.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But when I'm logging in, I sort of like, now give me the information that I need, because sometimes I stress about it. If it's a new customer, what are they going to think? And it's like, just calm the mind, Charles. Calm the mind. The universe is always going to provide it.
That's why you can't do it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I have to let the universe just.
I've got to fix this.
To do. Off we go.
Yeah. Great.
All right, gentlemen, we need to stop talking. We love this so much, but we need to wrap it up, and I want to keep going. Unfortunately, we have other things to do today too, which,
and so do our listeners.
Yeah, probably so do our listeners. Thank you so much, Charles. It's such an honor to have you on the podcast. Like, as soon as we started this podcast, I kept thinking of you and the energy you bring, and how much our listeners were going to love listening to you, share your wisdom, and everything you say comes from a love space. Anytime I'm in your presence, and I've known you for years, doing classes together, spiritual circles together.
Yes.
And it's just been an amazing adventure watching each other grow, and the beautiful network of people and souls around us. It's everyone who knows you loves you.
Thank you. And thanks for the opportunity, guys. It's been great. So thank you for allowing me to express who I am and what I do. So it's great. So I thank you for that opportunity.
Awesome. You'll find all his information. Michael does all the awesome. He goes through and chucks in your website and any way people can reach you via Amanti Moon, which is very cool. And you have a business partner as well, Adrian. So yeah, very cool. And we're looking forward to putting this out there and sharing the love with as many people as possible. Whoever finds you will be very, very lucky.
They'll be very lucky.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks for coming.
That's it for another episode, but that doesn't have to be the end of the conversation.
Feel free to leave your comments on our YouTube channel, or for those podcast listeners, you can email us at mickandthepsychic@gmail.com to leave your feedback or questions.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist and timeline regression therapist. If you wish to contact me to explore the source of an issue you're facing, just book a session at hearnhypnosis.com.au and include the promo code MATP for 10% off. You can contact me on Insta and Facebook at hearnhypnosis.
Check out my website at optimisticxavier.com.au if you feel you'd like to connect with me as a psychic medium, spiritual mentor, or intuitive coach. Include the promo code MATP for 10% discount. You can also find me on Insta, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
We look forward to connecting with you again next time as we attempt to leave no stone unturned.
Bye.
All right, cool. I reckon that should be okay.